Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have something kind of interesting to take a look at. Yes, we have another Velociraptor Blue and Beta model. There have been so many of these, it is actually getting crazy at this point, and I completely forgot that I had even pre-ordered this until my pre-order on Big Bad Toy Store went through the other day, and I was like, well, I guess it's on its way now, so might as well take a look at it with you guys, as we have the Mini-Co Velociraptor Blue and Beta. I have reviewed one of these figures in the past. I do have the older Velociraptor. There was also a T-Rex that had come out a ways back, but I did not get my hands on that one. And honestly, even though the original Raptor was really quite cool, I don't know that I was sold enough to really want to search out the T-Rex, so I never really pursued it. I would still like to get a hold of it, because it looked kind of cool, but these are basically like very stylized versions of Jurassic Park and Jurassic World dinosaurs. Obviously, this time Jurassic World Dominion. You can see we've got the kind of window area here on the front of the box where you can sort of see everything. And then if we turn it here to the side, you can now see a cartoonish version of the statue, and also the fact that this is created by Iron Studios, who is the creator of the Mini-Co line. And then here on the other side again, the window area, and then here on the back basically showing off the statue itself. So let's pop this box open and check it out. So here is the statue itself, and you know, it looks kind of cool for what it is, but obviously it has that super Mini-Co stylized look to it. It also has some super obvious joints, which you, I guess, would expect to not be there considering it is an Iron Studios release, but at the same time, Iron Studios never really has the greatest quality in the world. The paint apps don't really look that great on it either, but I will say the eyes look really nice. Not really that there's much detail in them, but there's a nice gloss coat on them that definitely makes them shine pretty nicely. So, it's interesting enough, I guess you could say, so let's jump to a closer look at it and check it out from there. So, if we start by taking a look at Velociraptor Blue, we can very clearly see that they were not attempting to make an accurate interpretation of Velociraptor Blue. This is obviously very stylized, and that's clearly what they were going for, so we're not going to look at this and say, oh, well, the head sculpt looks off, or the proportions in the legs look off. That's not what these figures are about. They're meant to kind of look off. They're meant to look goofy. If you've ever seen them before, you would very much so know that, especially if you go back and take a look at that T-Rex I was talking about. It looks super weird. But you can see we've got some pretty decent skin texture here for the face. They definitely did a good job as far as the actual texturing here in the face goes. You've also got the nostrils sculpted out. Like I said, I really like the paintwork of the eye. Just specifically, like, there's a nice gloss coat to it, which shines quite beautifully here on the figure. You can see the blue stripe does actually look okay. It does come up here and over the eye and then under the eye, exactly, well, not exactly, but kind of the way it's supposed to. And not really anything going on as far as color variation outside of the blue, the eye, and the dark gray, but it still looks pretty nice. As you lead down here into the throat, you can see there has been a brownish tone added, and it's pretty nicely applied. Definitely has a bit of a smooth look to it. You can also see a nice turn in the neck to Velociraptor Blue. That as well is pretty nicely sculpted out, and the skin texture looks good. You've got nice creasing and everything as you lead down. The blue stripe again continues to run down the course of the body. As you lead down into the arms have some nice muscle definition. They're also kind of held into the body, and, you know, a fairly nice natural way. Natural as far as what you would see in a Jurassic World Velociraptor. They're very clearly, you know, not positioned correctly as far as the wrists go, but you don't see that very often when it comes to Jurassic-style dinosaurs. You can see, though, that, again, we basically just have the grayish tone, very dark gray, way darker than you would expect to see for a Velociraptor Blue. And then you have the nails painted. The nails do have a nice glossy look to them as well, nice glossy black. As you lead up, you do see kind of like some scratches, or it looks like scratches, and you see that as you lead back into the legs. It almost looks like scars on the figure, but that's not what I think they were going for. I think they were basically just kind of trying to recreate the design of Velociraptor Blue, because she does actually have like some lighter sort of like striping and designing and patterning and stuff going on through the course of her body. And I think that was what they were attempting to achieve here, but it definitely doesn't look good. Definitely has more of a, almost like a damaged sort of a look. It looks like it was scraped up in transit, but that's not how it is. You know, that's just the way that it's painted out. Another thing that's actually kind of interesting is I do see some slight variations of blues and stuff that have been added. Really subtle application of that color. As you lead back here into the leg, you can see the muscle definition. You can see the seam where the leg was connected as well as the seam where the arm was connected. But you can see the sculpt and detail moving down the course of the leg looks pretty good. As you lead down into the foot, you have the foot sculpted pretty nicely. The toes are sculpted decently. Nails as well. The nails actually have a genuine sharp look to them as well, which is pretty cool. And again, painted with that nice glossy black. A little hard to really get a good look at the foot. You can see some nice scoots down the foot. It has been darkened to a blackish tone on the upper part of the foot moving down, so it's very dark, very hard to pick up on. You can see the dew claws are present and painted as well. As you lead back up into the tail, you see that brownish tone here continuing to move along the underside, the darker grayish tone here moving along the side, even some slight, again, like very slight hints of blues showing up. And then we also have the blue stripe leading out here. A few more of those kind of like random lines that sort of look like scrapes or scars. But as you lead out, you again see the tail turn toward beta here. You can also see that there's kind of like a line of very small ridges moving along the tail. I don't know if they've been kind of pretty much through the entire figure. So it has that going on as well, I guess. And you can see when we look at it from the opposing side, Blue does have the blue stripes stop short of her face, though it kind of runs up onto the top of her head, and that is definitely not where that should have gone. So this is like that one area that for some reason they just never get right. They just don't ever hit the correct spot when it comes to the blue stripe and the way it stops, and you can see they've done that here with this figure as well. Again, the eye looks really nice as far as the paintwork goes, and you can see as we move back into the body, we have very nice sculpt and detail, nice turn to the neck, and you can really see all the creasing and everything there in the neck of Blue. As you lead along, you can see one arm is outstretched a little bit further than the other. Pretty much the same position here as far as the figure goes on this side compared to what we saw on the other side, except for the fact that the head's turned toward us, the tail's turned toward us, and this leg is just outstretched a little bit more so than the opposing side. You can also see that the toes are kind of picking up off of the ground back there as well as Blue is sort of taking a step. Then we've got Beta, and Beta, if my camera would focus on her, there we go, looks pretty much just like Blue, honestly, but smaller and in a different pose. You can see that the eye is also nicely painted on Beta, but you can see also that the blue stripe here runs up and onto the top of the head, just like we saw on Blue, exactly the same way as well. As you see, it breaks up into two little spots on Blue, which again, Beta is almost a clone pretty much of Blue, so you would expect that. But you can see the same style of sculpt, same style of paint here as you move through the course of Beta. The arms are kind of held into slightly different positions, but opposite of what you see with Blue, so that's pretty similar. The head's also turned, but turned in the opposite direction, and kind of looking up a little bit like it's looking at Blue. And then you can see the legs are also slightly different as far as the positioning goes, also similar to Blue, but again kind of flip-flopped. And the tail as well is kind of leaning toward Blue, whereas the tail is leaning toward Beta up there for Blue. And if we get over here, yeah, it's going to be hard to see her because of the body of Velociraptor Blue in the way, but you can see what the head and everything looks like for Beta on this side again. Looks pretty good. As you move down here into the base, you can see we do have that snowy, earthy area here. You've got the nice rocky formations here on the underside. Nice variations of browns, as we have a lighter brown and then a dark wash, it looks like, applied to it. But then you can see the snow here kind of on the top, which obviously that's what we were recreating here, is the scene in the beginning of Jurassic World Dominion when Blue and Beta are kind of running together through the snowy forest, and it looks really good. Again, the base actually looks quite nice. And then you also have the Jurassic World Dominion logo down here. It would have been nice to see it actually painted out in the kind of amber colors that you see on that logo, but it obviously is just a very, almost generic looking version of the logo, but it looks okay, I guess. And then here on the underside, you can see very shiny, but you can also see again Blue and Beta, Jurassic World Dominion, Iron Studios, and of course all the other information you might be interested in when it comes to this release. So it's pretty much exactly as I expected when it comes to a Minico version. I don't know that I would say that they've improved since the older ones. The older one wasn't bad. The Velociraptor I had I actually really quite liked. But I would say that the older Raptor's probably a little nicer, but this one still is okay. As far as a size goes, for a length on Blue, you're looking at about 5 inches from the snout to the tail, or around 12.5 centimeters, somewhere in that vicinity, closing in on 13 centimeters. this is a very awkward model because there's just so many curves on it and stuff. It's hard to really get a measurement anywhere. If you go for a length for the entire pretty much diorama, I would say the end of Blue's tail and the start of the Rocky formation is probably the full length, about 5 inches in that direction as well, or again roughly about 13 centimeters. And then for a height to the back of Blue's neck, about 5 inches, or about 12.5, approaching 13 centimeters. That is very strange that it has pretty much the same measurement in almost every direction. Very weird the way that worked out. Regardless, for a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our Velociraptor Blue and Beta Mini-Co set. And you can see that it's got a pretty okay size to it. Nothing huge, definitely by no means is it a large model, but it's, you know, decently sized, I guess we'll put it that way. And I don't think we need too many comparisons this time around because this is just a very unique model that many different comparisons I don't think are going to be too helpful. But we did bring in a Mattel Velociraptor because if you are a fan of Velociraptors, there's a pretty good chance you're going to have a Mattel Raptor. Or at least if you're a fan of Jurassic-style Velociraptors. If you like accurate versions, you might not have any of this stuff. But you can see the size difference between a Mattel Raptor and the Mini-Co version. They're actually kind of similar, except for the fact that, obviously, Velociraptor Blue's head is massive on the Mini-Co version. But when you look at, like, the body size, they are kind of similar, honestly, in size. And proportion-wise, a little bit different, but they're not too far off overall. So if you happen to have a Mattel Raptor, I think you'll have a pretty good idea roughly of what the size is for the Mini-Co versions. So this brand new Iron Studios Mini-Co Velociraptor Blue and Beta is pretty cool. You know, if you like stylized versions of dinosaurs and stuff, or stylized versions of Jurassic Park style dinosaurs or Jurassic World style dinosaurs specifically, I think you'll dig this because it definitely has that very cool stylized look. The proportions are very goofy and, you know, they're meant to be that way, so it makes sense. And it just has that kind of playful, fun style to it where they're not taking themselves too seriously, which can definitely be fun. You know, it's nice to enjoy something a little different from time to time, but these sculpts are very highly detailed. I will give them credit for that. The sculpts actually have really impressive fine detail throughout, very vibrant as well. The actual quality of the model looks very good as far as like how vibrant the detail looks. The paint jobs, they're okay. They're not great. I think the eyes look really nice. There's not a whole lot as far as variation of color moving through. A little bit, you know, more than I expected. But the kind of like weird attempt at patterning that sort of turned out to look like scratches or damage to the models, I'm not a fan of that. I really think they should have either tried harder with that or just completely eliminated that because it doesn't look good on the figures. The blue stripe not quite lining up to where it should on the left side of the dinosaurs is also a little bit of a bummer. And the fact that the tones of color are off significantly, like it's way darker than it should be, and the, you know, brownish tone of the underside should be lighter than what we see here. So it's okay to have that stylized look, I think, if they still capture the coloration nicely, whereas they have not really done that here. I think the stylized look looks cool, and the paint job, although looking kind of natural and nicely applied, isn't exactly what I would say is the coloration of Blue and Beta. Just the tones of color are off. The poses are pretty nice, though, definitely replicating what we see with Blue and Beta in the forest, again, in Dominion. The base is also nicely done. The base actually is really nicely done when it comes to both the sculpt and paintwork. The snow looks really good as well. And you have the Jurassic World Dominion logo there just to kind of polish it all off. So it's not the best Jurassic World Dominion Velociraptor Blue and Beta model I've seen, but it's still pretty fun for what it is. So if you are interested, I will include a link in the description to where you can grab your own from Big Bad Toy Store, because that is exactly where I purchased mine. So make sure you check that link, go grab this if you are interested, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.